that when we get on the news, as we do from time to time here, every time there's a little tremor around, the newscasts are all talking about what we can do to prepare for an earthquake. They're not talking about what we're going to do to prepare for an earthquake. They're talking about if you survive the earthquake, this is what you need to do. You need to have water around. You need to maybe have a generator. You need to have first aid. But nobody can prepare for an earthquake. They can prepare for the aftermath if they get through the earthquake. It's going to happen, and you're going to deal with it if you're on it. And most of the dealing is going to be hiding under something until it's over. But it's amazing that human beings don't get this idea that with all our power and all our wisdom and all of this, that we really don't have any control at all over the devastation of what people like to call Mother Nature. But Mother Nature is created by Father God. And we can't do anything about that. We can't do a lot about terrorism. Yes, we can prepare for it, but you know what? When people are willing to give up their lives to kill other people, they get through. Somewhere they're going to get through and kill people. So, none of those things we have control over, but you know what? We have control over something that will deal with all of those things no matter what they are. And that is if we just put God into our lives, because that's where the preparation begins. David in Psalm 33, verses 6 through 9, says, "By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. He gathers the waters of the sea together as a heap. He lays up the deeps in storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spoke, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast." God has control of the weather if he chooses to. God alone can protect us from all of these problems. But what we need to do is show God that we respect him, that we give him the reverence that is due him, and that we serve him. Again, in Psalm 46, the writer says, "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, and though the mountains slip into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains quake at its swelling pride, the servant of God need not fear." Now, somebody's going to be thinking in the back of their head, do Christians die in earthquakes? Do Christians die in hurricanes? Yes, they do. That is not what I'm talking about having nothing to fear, as you'll see as we go on. It's also true that God sometimes uses these things to punish his people. He has done it in the past. We can assume he does it now. I can't tell you when and where the ones are actually done by God, nor would I want to be able to say that. But I can say that he has used what we call natural disasters to punish people for their failure to honor him. In Isaiah 24 and verse 3, the prophet talks about one such incident. "The earth will be completely laid waste and completely despoiled, for the Lord has spoken his word. The earth mourns and withers. The world fades and withers. The exalted of the people of the earth fade away. The earth is also polluted by its inhabitants." I love that verse, and I forgot to look it up in your version and other versions besides the New American Standard. But if yours says polluted too, I love that, because you know what? We are so concerned sometimes, and here in the Bay Area, and I told Sharon when we moved here, I never appreciated environmentalists very much when I lived in the desert. But I really do appreciate environmentalists here. I appreciate the clean air we breathe here, because go to LA if you want to see what happens when you don't really try to take care of the environment. But this is not talking about polluting the air. Wouldn't it be wonderful if Christians could be as zealous for teaching the world about how to purify their lives as environmentalists are about telling us about what we need to do to clear up the physical pollution in the world? The earth is also polluted by its inhabitants, for they transgressed laws, they violated statutes, they broke the everlasting covenant. Therefore a curse devours the earth. Those who live in it are held guilty. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left. God does punish the wicked. And sometimes he punishes to wake people up and to make people return to him where they should be. In Hebrews chapter 12, the writer is talking about a final destruction that God is going to bring about. And as the writer speaks of this, he uses the Old Testament and Moses on Mount Sinai and the law being given to the people at that time. And he speaks of the fact that God shook the earth. When he was on Mount Sinai, it was like an earthquake. There was fire, and the people were in great fear before God. You know what God said at that time? He said, oh, that they would be like this always. That is, fear God, because fearing God, we're going to do what he says. It's when we stop fearing God that we have problems. But the writer says, see to it that you do not refuse him who is speaking, for if those did not escape when they refused him or warned him on earth, and there he's talking about Moses in the Old Testament, much less will we escape, who turn away from him who warns from heaven, and his